Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to probably the most drunken rendition of Libservative in the history of our show, because America is over and we all decided to play a little drinking game for the debate, which we abandoned because we didn't expect it to be the train wreck that it actually turned out to be. Welcome to our post-debate reaction. We've got Bell the Bodysnatcher, not so much on the ones and twos tonight, but as kind of a tertiary pundit. He, as always, I think on the screen, my left is Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin to my right.
It's Libservative Intellectual Idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And this is our post-debate reaction. And I want to start here. I want to start pre-show because we watched a little, we all watched the debate together.
Should I do our tagline?
You just completely killed my mojo, but go for it.
I'm sorry, man. Libservative Podcast found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter, Libservative Pod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. I know the plug is supposed to be like...
You really get into it. And I honestly, I just dropped a wet piece of gum on the floor and it's going to end up somewhere that it's not supposed to be. So, which is basically the debate that we saw tonight. I want to start with a little bit of what we saw pre-show, because we sat around and we not only watched the debate together, but we watched about a half hour of pre-show, both on CNN and Fox News. Let's see what's going on, kind of on both sides of the spectrum. And I had two takeaways, and I'm wondering what you guys think about this. Pre-show for Fox News, all I could think was, oh my God, Karl Rove is still alive, ? I don't know why I thought Karl Rove was dead, but he's still alive and kicking and talking to Brett Baer, who, by the way, looks like a guy who goes and buys a basketball for a brown kid across the street so that he can take pictures and show you what a great humanitarian he is. That's what Brett Baer looks like to me.
Yeah, it was the typical thing, right? We were switching back and forth between CNN and Fox, and and it's just a bunch of apologies. Like they had Gavin Newsom, remember? Biden's just totally great this country, and then they're like, well, you actually said Trump did a good job, and they showed all these clips of him saying that, and he's like, well, yeah, during the COVID he did, but
you give Aaron Burnett a little bit of credit for that, I guess. Which brings me to the thing that I noticed.
It's funny to see the pun, like just the two spectrums of the media just falling in line to make sure that they're people that watch their show, they said the right things. It's just
which kind of brings me to what I saw in the CNN pre-show. The only thing I noticed was the tagline on the bottom of the screen on CNN, which just said that it was just a quote from Jill Biden that says, "I know Joe is ready to go." And the only thing I took from that is that she was the one that had the syringe in her hand that injected the uppers into his left ass cheek before the debate started, which didn't seem to show up until about 30 minutes into the debate.
Started sweating, looking all pale.
I absolutely agree. Dude, when he came out, it looked, my God, you felt bad for the old man.
We were watching right here on this screen that you guys are looking at. We would have streamed this live, but CNN would not allow us to do so, nor any other streamers out there, and we just didn't want to be sued. Otherwise, you guys could have had some fun with us. But when Biden came out and first started talking, if you're more on the left side of the spectrum, trust me, we're going to shit on Trump plenty. But the first thing that I noticed was just the mouth breathing, wide bug eyes of Joe Biden. And I went, honestly, what in the fuck is this man on? and then he still couldn't put a sentence together to start this debate. You guys were watching me, like my jaw was on the floor.
Me and you both were just like,
I did not expect. I expected a disaster. I did not expect Joe Biden to look that bad when he first came out on that stage. He shuffled out there. Like, I hope Operation, what is it, Corey? Operation Paper, not Operation Paper.
Operation Bubble Wrap.
I don't know what they did to keep him standing on his feet, but he had the, like, his mouth was wide open the whole time. And he just
Dan, the lights are on, but nobody was home.
He looked like a vertical version. He looked like a vertical version of the people I see at work.
his gait isn't even good. Like, I don't know how you be the president of the United States and you don't have a normal human being's gait. Like, his walk, his gait was just, it's just like,
it looks like he's wearing slippers.
The mouth, he looked like a mummy, like had a puppeteer, had like a puppeteer had a hand up his ass when he first started this.
He looked so bad that there's no way that I could possibly believe this. He looked so bad. Like
So do you guys have anything you want to mention about, like, these guys' entrances before we get into the actual meat of what was discussed in this debate?
Yeah, once we get to the actual policies and stuff, we can also talk about how shitty Trump was. But like his presence, the way he walked out, reminded me of like a Vince McMahon style, like WWE entrance, just an old man who just knows the game and knows what he's doing.
You talking about Trump?
Yeah, Trump just seemed like he was at least present. Biden looked like he just got done smoking a big ass fucking Jeter with his boys, and then they're trying to watch the football game, and someone's like, "Hey, did you see that play?" And he's like, "Huh?" Like, that's what it reminded me of.
He's taking a nap under the coffee table.
Dude, there was a point where it looked like he was sleeping.
The first thing that was mentioned in the debate, the first topic that Dana Bash brought up, which, by the way, Dana, by the end of this debate, looked like she was exhausted. She looked so sad.
I lost before we start, though, just so everyone knows for the pretext, I lost count. Like when we were playing the drinking game, I lost count. I stopped checking them. But insults. So we had this game, like you had to drink if there was insults, if one of them glitched out, anytime a mic is cut, if there was a straight up lie, if RFK was mentioned, anytime Dana Bash seems flustered, which I should put a check against that towards the end there.
I see. I'm still catching up on the drinking game right now with my gin and tonic. So
Hunter Biden mentioned Bidenisms and Trumpisms. Biden crime family mentioned, or a conviction mentioned, or a felon mentioned. So for the insults, we had one, before I lost count, 6 checks.
You were actually checking them off?
Yeah. Glitch out.
Go ahead.
Glitch out, 2 checks. Which there was probably more. Anytime a mic is cut, both of them had their mic cut at least once. A straight up lie, I have like 8 checks. RFK wasn't mentioned once. Dana Bash seeming flustered. There's probably 2 checks that should be there that there aren't. Hunter Biden was only mentioned once. Bidenism and Trumpisms, I lost count after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Biden crime family mentioned twice. Felonies mentioned twice. So these are a lot of drinks that we drank. Drunk.
I got to bring up this comment from Candy Cane in my urethra. Great name, by the way. Just a great Twitch name. Who you got in the pay-per-view golf tourney? I was actually texting a buddy while the debate was going on. Like, are these two motherfuckers actually arguing about who the better golfer is? Like, is this what presidential debates have devolved to at this point?
You got 8 handicap. You couldn't hit the ball 50 yards.
The better question is, like, why am I surprised? Why am I surprised that this is what presidential debates have devolved to? That's absolutely great. What is this? I'm taking Trump by doctor stoppage by the 12th hole. I mean, yeah. I fully believe Donald Trump is a cheater when it comes to golf, but like
he's one of those guys that like kicks the ball away from behind the tree kind of thing.
You can't lose the doctor stoppage though, man.
That would ruin the whole thing, man. Could you make you know how
Ball
is
for
it
brawl 2024. No
Is it Capital-
doctor option. Fight to the death on the links.
Is it Capital One that does the match? They've done a few of these where they'll take like two really good golfers and they'll put them up with a couple of celebrities and they'll do like a match. They started it over COVID. Like, could you imagine if they did that? Where like it's like Phil Mickelson and Donald Trump versus I don't know Rory McIlroy and Joe Biden. I would absolutely love to watch that. Who wouldn't love to watch that?
I would watch the shit out of it. I don't even watch golf.
Yeah, I don't watch golf either, but I would watch that.
I watch my fair share of golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they started with this is going to take us a minute to go through, guys. I apologize. They started with the economy. That was the first topic that that Jake Tapper from the lead. I was trying to do my best Mike McRae impression, but that didn't go well. The economy. So, that was the first topic that they brought up.
Yeah. Oh, and then how underwhelming was it with the crowd, with no crowd during the introduction?
Honestly, I think it made it more awkward.
It did.
Like, at least if there was a crowd, it would have like honestly, I think all of the rules that CNN put in place
only helped
were
Trump.
They were kind of advantage Trump. I mean, the mics being cut off, to me, it allowed
Saved
for
Trump
Trump to not do all of the interruptions, and it kind of allowed Biden to stand there and hang himself.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I thought that was advantage Trump, and
because he would have been sidetracked by Trump interrupting. Exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
And the crowd, I thought, would have been advantage Biden, but I don't think it played out that way at all, because it took a minute for Trump to kind of settle in and kind of realize what the game is.
Too.
But
Biden at least closed his mouth and his eyes at one point.
I think that was just the drugs. I think the drugs finally just kicked in after about 45 minutes when it came to Biden. But yeah, it took Trump a minute to settle in. But once he realized, I was texting with my buddy here before, like during the debate, and he and I noticed it at the same time, which was where Trump kind of settled in. And I feel like he kind of fell off towards the end of the debate.
Well, it was late. He's old too. Yeah, I have a ton of notes too.
I have to go kind of. Oh, it was when they started to get into Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security at the end, where Trump still doesn't understand. Like, we don't expect Biden to understand this. I guess why should we expect Trump to understand it? Because he's also in his late 70s. But like, neither of these candidates understand the fact that younger voters, you know, us included, you know, we're all in our mid 30s, people that are slightly older than us, people that are younger than us. If you're politically engaged, you understand that Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are not going to be around for us. And all these guys can stand there and talk about is how they're going to save it for the older generation. And I've had this discussion with like a lot of boomers that I know, family members and otherwise. You know, all they can ever say is, I paid into that system. I deserve my money. And all I can think is, well, I'm paying into that system too, and I'm not going to get my money. So which generation is going to be the generation that steps forward and does and does the right thing? Exactly. But that was a huge issue within this debate, and these guys being so old and not understanding the younger voter in any way, shape, or form. We all understand.
I went off on a little tangent and even missed a little bit of the debate after that, because I was thinking about like, how do you rip the Band-Aid off, right? And I was thinking, like, let me know what you think of this idea. Like right now it's 2024. You know, you say anyone born after 2025, they get the option when they get older that there's like Social Security just isn't there anymore, but there's an actual trust that has at least a 1% guaranteed growth, because that's what Social Security is right now. That's government like overseen, almost like a credit union, where that's nonprofit. It's just the money's just put there to put into super, super conservative, low risk investments. Like, I don't know, just fucking energy. You know, a big trust that just takes all the different energies. Right. And or you can opt out of that, the safe bet, and you could put your money into and have that money taken out of your gross to be put into a 401k. That is just a 401k where you still get to pick your stuff like you would for a John Hancock or an Empower, or any of these other things. But it's just overseen by a government department that isn't there to do anything ideologically political on the spectrum. It's just someone there that's just paid to just manage the money and
Distribute the
where
money.
where you told them to. Yeah.
And then you eventually have a sunset clause on that. Like, it's going to be our generation that has to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be our generation that has to do that. And as I've said on this show multiple times, if the federal government came to me today and said, we'll pay you back every dime you've ever paid into these entitlement programs.
Yeah, you can even take
and run with it. No interest.
You could
Just give me what I paid.
You could even take 12 years off that and say anyone born in 2012, if it's like whatever age, like 12, 13, before someone actually starts paying taxes. Because as soon as someone even at 14 is paying Social Security tax, that's when it gets tricky because they started paying money into it.
Yeah.
It would just have to be the age before. Yeah.
As soon as you're taxed, I mean, shit, I was taxed on my first job when I was about 12.
I've been
paying into Social Security. I
This
was a
is
caddy.
just
I was paying taxes on that money.
This is a failed. So yeah, I had a job at 14. Paying taxes. It's just this shit is. It's the trajectory is bad.
So I guess moving on in the economy, what did you think about Trump taking credit for the COVID checks, right? Because he talked about these checks as if they were some wonderful thing that he provided to the American people, when he clearly doesn't understand that these COVID checks were a huge bump when it comes to inflation. When you pump money into an economy artificially, you devalue the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is economics 101. You devalue the dollar and you raise inflation.
So
this is where Trump gets things wrong on the economy, right? Go ahead.
It's funny you mentioned that because I wrote I have my little notes here and I had my my pre-show notes. I plan on writing more. I just ended up not writing them. But one of them actually is watching the two blame each other for inflation is hilarious. Because there was roughly $10 trillion pumped into the economy during the whole entire COVID pandemic. And it's like a 60-40 split. And if I remember correctly, it might be 60% Trump, 40% Biden. But that might be flipped.
Either way, let's just call it 50-50 at that point.
The inflation that we're seeing now is both of their faults.
100%.
And watching them blame each other was absolutely fucking hilarious.
And then what's funny
the
is
other topics I thought would
both wrong.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah.
The topics I thought would be covered would be inflation, border war, and crime, and they all were. That was it. Those are my notes for the pre-show.
And then I loved how Biden's response to Trump's thing of the COVID checks was, and I wrote this down as a direct quote, but it may not be direct. Let's just call it a paraphrase. Biden said, Trump raised the deficit more than any other president in a 4-year term. And my thought was, except for you, President Biden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what Biden said wasn't wrong until
it's just his term isn't over yet, so it's not inked. The ink is still wet.
That's the issue between these two fucking morons arguing with each other. These two old ass men arguing with each other over nonsense because they're both guilty in that way. Like every president has raised the deficit for the last 30 years. So it's like, okay, I guess you can bitch at each other for raising the deficit more, someone more than the other one. And then I couldn't help but notice, and I think you pointed this out too, Corey, that when Biden was writing shit during the economics portion, I think all I could think of is that he's just fucking like doodling on that fucking because they kept showing him taking notes. I'm like, he's not actually writing anything, is he? He's 100%.
Dude, there was a point where I swear, like maybe my eyes were lying to me, but it looked like he was just drawing a line down.
I seen that. He was drawing a stick figure.
Yeah, or playing hangman with himself.
Drawing a stick figure of Trump and then writing meanie.
Brother, he was playing hangman with himself the whole night. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's like literally.
Yeah.
And then
Breaking news, libservative. It looks like Joe Biden is in fact into like erotic or auto asphyxiation or whatever it's called.
Except only on paper, as he is with every policy that he brings in. And then and Biden mentioned this multiple times throughout the debate. He kept talking about how he vowed and hasn't ever raised taxes for anyone making over $400,000. And I kept screaming to you guys in the microphone over and over again, except for inflation, right? Because at the end of the day, inflation is a fucking tax from overloading the market with too many dollars and devaluing the dollar. Inflation is a tax. So yes, is the government taking more money, more physical dollars out of a paycheck from somebody who makes less than $400,000? No, he's not doing. His administration hasn't done that.
It's going to the corporations. It's going to the big.
But everything's everything's more expensive, so it's still a tax.
Because the demand is higher. Because the supply stayed the same, but the money in the market increased. I like simple economics.
I also like how
I felt like pretentious when I said that, and I didn't mean to sound pretentious. It's just the simple law of supply and demand. Yeah.
No, but I like how Biden mentioned that, like with the Trump tax cuts, that things would be more expensive, which was actually a talking point of Republicans for a long time. And that was one of his talking points. And he was talking about how it would drive up the price of food and this and that. As if we're not already paying extra for food and gas and this and that right now, plus whatever else.
Oh, but if Trump gets elected, it'll just be worse. It'll just be higher. It'll just be more.
Dude, the fear mongering.
It's a threat to democracy, Dan.
That was the only time I was like legitimately pissed during this debate. Was when Biden was fear mongering about NATO or whatever. When they were talking about how he goes, yeah, Trump
foreign policy.
Trump says, yeah, foreign policy. He's like, yeah, Trump said he's gonna just disregard NATO, and Trump is like, no, I told them they all had to pay up. And Biden said that if Trump is in office, he's gonna let Ukraine be taken over by Russia, and then that Poland and all these other countries are next. And it's like, no, they're not, because they're a part of NATO.
I actually thought the foreign policy part of the debate was one of Trump's weaker moments, where he shit on Biden.
No, it's okay, Dad. He's going to solve the Ukraine crisis as president-elect.
Oh, that's right. As president-elect, Donald Trump is going to solve, before he even gets in office, he's already going to have both of these proxy wars solved.
Joke's on us. It's not Russia Israel that has the P-tapes. It's Trump on Russia.
But like, well, you're actually speaking to my point, which is that I actually think the foreign policy debate was one of Trump's worst moments within this debate, because he attacked Joe Biden for Afghanistan, saying it was the worst moment in the history of our country when Joe Biden pulled the troops out of Afghanistan. And like, as we've talked about this when it first happened. We've talked about it since on this show. Entering war is ugly, and exiting war is ugly. And yeah, it was a shit show when we pulled those troops out of Afghanistan. But at the time, we gave Joe Biden, and we don't do this very often on this show, we gave Joe Biden a ton of credit for ending a stupid fucking war that did nothing, literally nothing, because as soon as we got out of there, the Taliban took over Afghanistan again. And that would have happened 10 years from now. That would have happened 20 years from now. It would never have mattered. Everybody knows this is the case, that Afghanistan was always going to be retaken over by the Taliban. So it didn't matter when it happened. It just mattered that it happened. And I'm happy that it happened when it did. However, yes, it was an absolute shit show. Now, we took that credit away from Joe Biden almost immediately after, when he starts funding a bullshit proxy war in Ukraine and fear-mongering that Vladimir Putin is going to invade NATO countries. Like, he gained the credit for just a minute, and then he immediately lost it. Well, we don't have any boots on the ground there. Great. But my tax dollars are still paying for it. So fuck you,
there's
dude.
still technically boots on the ground. We have advisors and stuff like that. Like, we're over
200
there.
billion.
Our
And we have
intelligence
volunteers.
agencies are giving the information needed of where to strike now that they're striking inside Russia. Like, we're right now striking their early detection systems for nuclear arms. Like, they don't have satellites in the sky. Russia doesn't, like America does. Like, we could just spot it on anywhere we want in the world.
Well,
Russia has radar systems on the ground, and that's where the Ukraine missiles are hitting. Like, talk about making them, who's a paranoid state already because NATO just keeps encroaching on their borders. Now we're taking out your early detection systems for nuclear weapons.
now
If you're a
that
paranoid person who's trying to like I'm just saying,
Don't worry,
like, put
Bill.
your other
Get your
shoes on
chance.
for the second. We're just completely pushing ourselves more and more towards nuclear war under Biden's administration, to where even though Afghanistan, when we gave him promises for that, the fucking terrorists weren't a threat of nuclear war. It's worse.
It's
Yeah, great. I'm glad you
it's
stopped
ridiculous.
fighting people that were throwing rocks at you.
right.
But now we're in a country that has nuclear weapons.
Bell, what did you have to say?
I was gonna say everybody's scared of Hamas, and we seem to forget that Ukraine is attacking Russia in Russia with United States weapons.
Yeah, taking
Yeah.
out their early nuclear
Inside
More
Russia.
nuclear
Yeah.
power.
inside Russia, taking
That's-
out their
I
radar
just-
systems. Yeah,
But Trump will end it. Trump will end it in 2 minutes.
thank God.
Uh,
I guess I don't know. Like,
Speaking of Hamas, speaking of more of the foreign policy portion of this debate, speaking of Hamas, I'm sorry, like, it's so shitty that I laugh at this because it's not actually funny. It's funny in a faux pas way, not necessarily a ha-ha way.
the absurdity of it.
When Biden was asked about Israel, he goes, "We got a 3-step plan. We got a 3-step plan to end the war." And I think I'm actually speaking like him in Palestine and in Israel. Step 1, trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Step 2, end the war. That was basically what he said. I mean, that was basically what he said. He had 3
because
steps.
we actually
We're all
we went
leaving
over the those actual, like, the phases on the show a couple weeks ago. But yeah, he botched it because the actual, like, phases actually, like, make sense, but he couldn't even recite his own foreign policy, which speaks to itself. Take that as you will. But yeah, Trump was just as bad. Remember, there was a point where he said, like, I lit up, my face lit up because Biden goes, yeah, it's Hamas. Hamas wants to keep the war going, and Israel wants to stop the war. And Biden goes, no, he goes, no, that's not true at all. He goes, Israel wants to keep the war going. And I was like, oh my God, is he actually admitting to what's going on there? And then he goes,
Yep.
and let them finish the job. And I was like, God damn it.
Damn it,
God
Trump, you almost had it.
Damn it.
Trump almost had it. He almost had it. And that's the issue with this debate, the 2 candidates that were in this debate, and also the third, which is RFK Jr., who, by the way, brilliant fucking move by doing a quote unquote The Real Debate on Rumble, which we didn't watch, but I'll probably go back and watch after the fact.
Yeah, I probably will too. It hit like 40,000. The numbers kept going
Leave-
up after commercial breaks.
But all 3 of these assholes,
And it was the number one
Have-
trending thing on Twitter. It was
all 3 of
promoted,
these
but-
assholes are just unapologetically supportive of Israel. And if just one of them would have some semblance of reality within them, they might be able to gain something. What do we have here? Dark Sage. Jimmy Carter at 99 could have done could have done between the Biden. Is that what it says?
Could
have
done. I
done
think he meant to
between-
say could have done better than Biden.
Could
I
have
Jimmy
done better
Carter
than
would do that.
Biden I'm Jimmy Carter and you're not. I kind of agree with that. And Jimmy Carter is widely regarded as a fucking terrible president. And do you know why Jimmy Carter was a terrible president? I'm going to tell you why Jimmy Carter was a terrible president. Because he was a legitimately good person. Like
at 99, there's just pictures of him with hammers building Habitat for Humanity houses.
Right. That's why Jimmy Carter was a shitty president, because he was a good human being. Like, you just can't be a good human being and do this job. But anyway, was there anything else on foreign policy that you guys wanted to talk? Was there anything else that stood out to you?
Got here. Like right now, they didn't get into anything other that's significant, because the way these debates are set up, we didn't talk about like Kenya and Haiti. Or because that's a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to immigration, right? They did a ton of talks about immigration. In fact, Trump brought it up more times than he needed to. Seems like every topic Trump was deflecting to like the amount of immigrants coming over the border.
Yeah, anytime they asked him a question that like it could have been like a typical gotcha thing, he was like, "Well, the border."
So Trump's probably biggest weakness as far as like what's actually true. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. It's not even just Trump.
And
it's also Joe Biden. Honestly, I think both of their weaknesses as far as like what is reality is immigration and what's going on at the border. Because
the question they're asking themselves, what is reality?
Yeah, well, that's fair. But the reason they're both so wrong is like at opposite ends of the spectrum. Like Biden, I shouldn't even say Biden, but like his entire team can't come to the realization that what his policy is at the border isn't working, and that a lot of people are pouring over the border, which are then moving throughout the country. They can't get jobs. They can't provide anything like they would have under like a certain sort of Ellis Island situation. So that's why Biden gets the border wrong.
Yeah,
but then Trump gets the border wrong because then he goes and exaggerates this whole like, immigrants are just running around killing people all over the place, all over the country. Like, yeah, there's some stories. It's happening. But this idea that it's some sort of pandemic of immigrants jumping over the border and like murdering fucking Americans by the thousands is also complete bullshit. I have absolutely no faith in either of these two to get the border right. And the simple reason for that is neither of them understand the actual solution to this, which is high fences and wide gates. Neither of them can come to that conclusion. Trump just wants the high fences, right? I'm going to build the wall. And Biden just wants the wide gates. And if you just have a better process of getting immigrants into this country, getting them processed, getting them paying taxes, and not that I think anybody should be paying taxes, but like if I have to, they should. Getting them working the jobs that Americans don't want to work. This stupid trope that Trump and I'll let you go in a second, Corey, but this stupid trope that Trump and all conservatives bring into this, which is immigrants come in and they lower wages, it's been proven time and time again to be bullshit. It's not true. Immigrants come into this country and create wealth. That's what they've always done. And they do jobs at the beginning that Americans don't want to do, because I love how folks are always like, nobody wants to work anymore. Why isn't there anybody serving me at this Coney dog stand? Nobody wants to work anymore. And yet also immigrants are taking American jobs.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. They're coming in and mooching off the welfare system, but they're also coming in and taking jobs. Oh, they're also coming in and taking all of our jobs. Yeah.
Right. They're doing both things. Okay.
It's the high fences, wide gates thing. It's I haven't heard it said like that, and I actually like that a lot. But that basically goes to what we've said on this show countless times. And the fact is that like we know how to process people. We've done this before with Ellis Island. You secure the borders, you make it to where there's access points, and you have everyone file through, and you have an expedited process to get these people stamped, brought into the country. and have them paying taxes. It's probably like, you know what I mean? Like, and there will be people who don't have the paperwork and stuff like that. But if we can have fucking express lanes at your local supermarket, if you have everything lined up to get fucking through, to just get your shit going, you can become a citizen within a couple of days. It's just bureaucracy that
Not
almost
even
like
necessarily a citizen,
manufactured to
but just
gum it
like
up on purpose.
not
At
even
least a
necessarily
green card or a
citizen.
visa.
Yeah, exactly. Or work visa, something. Like Biden's process
Creating
doesn't
the
work.
bread trail that, hey, you were here at the border, here's your information. And then when they go out and they get a house, they use that information. And then you create the bread trail to where I'm not trying to like advocate large government surveillance. But if they have this paperwork to use, to be able to live a normal life in America, you're going to be able to track them versus someone trying to avoid it and hiding in the corners in the alleys. Because if they're comfortable here, they're going to have other social media. They're going to have their fucking internet in their house. There's going to be breadcrumb trails fucking everywhere because that's the way life is now. You're going to be able to keep track of them, no problem. It's when you make all of that illegal for them, then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we made it illegal to where they can do something as simple as just get internet service and where they're living, and now we don't know where they are. And it's like, well, if you just let them do that shit, you would know where they are at all times. Instead, they're using burner phones and they're running around alleys in the darkness.
It's why both candidates in this situation and both parties in general, they get immigration so fucking wrong. It's not as complicated as they make it. All of the data is showing we're not having enough babies. Okay, how do you supplement that? You supplement it through immigration, and you supplement it through good immigration. And this idea of just like, we only want the best. No, we need laborers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
These people are happy to come over and do it.
America doesn't face an aging population crisis like any other country in the world.
It's because of immigration
in the world right now is because of immigration. Yeah.
It's a good thing. So like, honestly, I think that was the most important topic during this debate because it was full of a lot of bullshit. And both candidates just get it so fucking wrong. And I don't see, and that's one thing where RFK wins over both of them. I think he's a lot more. I don't know. I'm not like, I'll be fully honest. I'm not like really deep into what his immigration policy is. I've heard him kind of briefly speak about it. Because he's basically more about calling out the establishment, which I don't hate him for, unless it has to do with Israel. But yeah, so that's one spot where both candidates are just absolutely fucking terrible. What did we not cover? January 6th? That was kind of short-lived, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Trump said that those people's lives are being ruined over something. And he's right. Like, at the end of the day, he used the point of how, like, during the George Floyd protests, like, a lot of, like, police stations were burned down. And the people weren't being held to account. Like, I'm sure the people got felonies and arsons and stuff like that, but the way all the people on January 6th were grouped in together it made it seem like all of them were wearing fucking fur hats with horns sitting in the actual Senate chambers going, you know what I mean? To where,
I will say this, Corey, I think that kind of applies both ways, right? Because when conservatives and Trump supporters talk about the summer of 2020, right? We all know what that means. That's the George Floyd protests and
right. But what I'm getting at,
he's right. But like for as many of those like cities burning, stuff that showed up on Fox News, and you know this because we live in Detroit and we had them. There were just as many actually peaceful protests. So it kind of goes both ways.
That's what I'm kind of getting at, to where it's like anyone who they got on camera that was there on January 6th is being harassed, whereas there were thousands of people standing around that police department being burned down in Minneapolis, and only like if anyone even got felonies, only a couple of people got them. To where if the roles were reversed, it would have been everyone there whose face was shown would have been brought in, interrogated, investigated.
I see what
and all
you're
of that
saying.
stuff.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the people on January 6th shouldn't be charged, but it would have been misdemeanors. You know what I mean? Like
most of them-
trespassing. It
Most
should
of them
like
should have gotten
because
trespassing misdemeanors.
remember when January 6th happened, there was kind of two different things happening at the same time, because when everyone was storming the gates in the back, the Capitol Police assumed that if they just open up the doors in the front, people would just funnel through. Or it might be the exact opposite. But there was like a one where there's when you look at the video, there's certain parts of the Capitol, people were just walking around looking like they're on fucking tour, staying between the goddamn rope lines, just shuffling around and looking around and taking photos and stuff, thinking they were supposed to be there. And then on the other end, it was absolute barrage, looking like it was a fucking movie 300 with people with shields battering against each other in a narrow fucking hallway. And I don't think that the two should be treated the same way.
I mean,
But
that's
they
fair.
have
And
been.
I guess
and
like the question from Dana, and I don't remember who asked the question, if it was Dana Bash or if it was Jake Tapper, but like, should Trump be held liable? I think maybe you could make the argument that Trump should be held liable for the damages to the Capitol. Like if you were going to say anything,
did he say any words that actually incited a riot?
I watched the whole speech.
He did say he said that we're going to go down there and we're going to fight like hell.
We're going to fight like hell. Yep. I mean, I watched the whole speech a couple of different times, and I tried to look at it from a multitude of different perspectives, and it's very ambiguous.
Right.
Like,
because us as not Trump supporters could look at that as just hyperbolic, normal Trump speech. You know, like
right. It all depends on how did you feel about the situation beforehand?
Right. Because it became actionable, people treat it differently, but it was the same hyperbolic language he used all the time.
Well, and isn't that kind of part of the genius of Trump? Like in the
it's
way,
always ambiguous.
It's so interesting because he's a guy that says, like, seems like he's talking off of like the cuff of his sleeve, but at the same time chooses his words very carefully. He's very interesting in that way, because he seems like he's being very reckless with his words, but at certain times he knows what he's saying.
Plausible deniability, yeah.
Like the stand back and stand by thing with the Proud Boys, right? Like very, what is he saying? Is he saying that they should stand down, or is he saying that they should just wait until he gives them a command? Like you could interpret it both ways if you just take your emotions out of it for 5 minutes, right?
Right. Is he so dumb that he accidentally misspoke and said some dumb shit, or did he mean it? You never know.
Right. And you never know. You never actually know. It's part of Trump's brilliance. He's very Go ahead.
Biden, I would just say Biden called Trump a whiner a bunch of times.
That's fair. Trump is a whiner. Like, there's no question about that. He's a sore loser. That's for sure. Like, you know what I mean? That's fair. And Biden got a couple of good ones in. Is there any portions of the debate that we didn't discuss?
The opioid thing.
Oh yes. Hold on. I know I have
kind of interesting.
Oh, and then another one. Biden didn't fire anyone.
Yeah, but then we went into like the kind of the foreign policy thing, and
that kind of went along with that. Yeah, but I thought, like, I looked it up. I asked ChatGPT, and it looks like Biden hasn't. And I think that just goes to show that Biden is just ran by the establishment. He's not in charge of anything.
We know that. We already knew that. And so was Trump. Let's be honest. I mean, he had fucking Mike Pompeo in his cabinet. I mean, come on. Like,
yeah, Mike Pompeo. Well, what's the guy with the mustache's name? He admitted to us doing coups all the time.
With the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
What was that asshole's name?
I had
gray-haired, gray mustache.
I had too many drinks.
I gotta know.
Maybe somebody watching can throw it in the comments. But yeah, so there was what the fuck did Bell just say? What did we not talk about?
Crisis.
Opioid crisis. That's right.
Yeah, fentanyl.
Yeah, so Trump goes, this guy's bad on the border. Dude, fentanyl was still pouring into the country when you were the president. Like, let's not pretend.
Yeah.
Let's not
It was on its
pretend like
major
this wasn't a
uptick when
problem.
he was president.
Like, let's not pretend like this wasn't a problem when you were president. Yeah, of course, it's pouring in under Biden, but it was pouring in under you too. And drug policy under both of these administrations has been absolutely fucking atrocious. I still have the name of this man that Bell's looking up on the tip of my tongue, and I just can't fucking say it. Did you talk about John Bolton? Is it John Bolton?
Oh yeah,
that's what I
John
thought.
Bolton.
I knew it. I knew it'd come to me. I knew it'd come to me eventually. John Bolton. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Trump didn't drain the swamp. Like this is. And like, I understand Trump
wish he did, but he didn't.
I wish he did. I mean, and let's talk about like, this is a key point. And I'm not surprised it wasn't brought up during the debate because it was on CNN. Trump said last week and brought up one of the single best policies, if he actually does it, that any president has ever brought up. And that is not taxing tips on servers.
Yeah.
Not brought up.
Bring that up. Not
talked about this because this isn't honestly, dude, like this is an anti-establishment policy. This is a fuck you on paying taxes policy, right?
It's always funny. I always feel like people, when they do debates and stuff like that, it's the same as like how we are for our show afterwards. Like, fuck, I forgot to say that.
Oh, I wish I had said that. And we do that all the time.
Yeah.
But like that is a fantastic, it's almost, I shouldn't even say almost. It absolutely is a libertarian policy.
Yeah.
Fuck the federal
That's
government.
why I
taking
always
the money that I earn.
I always do my concerted effort to tip with cash instead of my credit card.
Can we give that as a PSA to all the listeners out there? When you have a chance to tip cash, please do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please
if you can tip cash, because then the person who's only making $3 an hour, who's relying on tips as their wage, doesn't have to pay taxes on that tip. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why would you take someone who's already have a slave wage who relies on the supplemental income of the tips that you're giving them for their service? Why make them pay taxes on that?
The people against
Especially
it act as if waitresses claim all their cash anyways.
They don't.
They
Fuck
should.
no,
Trust me, they don't. Trust me, they don't.
They shouldn't.
They're legally supposed to.
It's
stupid. But they
stupid.
don't.
That's the dumbest thing. Like, how is the government going to set up a system to give you the loophole to get paid in tips, and then allow a restaurant to pay you at like $3 or $4 an hour, and then turn around and then take the money that people are giving this person based on their service out of the goodness of their own heart, and when they don't have to, they do it because they appreciate the service, and then go, oh, but by the way, even though we're letting this, like, even though the legal standards are allowing you to get paid half of what minimum wage is, we also want you to get taxed on the money that's a gift.
And
we're also taxing
like,
you on your 40 hours. So we're taking $20 out of your $120.
Right. We're taxing you on the 40 hours, and then we're also going to tax you on the money that's a gift.
You're always told about how like $1 can't be taxed twice, but it's taxed twice every fucking time because the federal government the government taxes your income and the state taxes your income, which technically is the same tax. But then you're also taxed on the money that you fucking pay in sales tax through the state. I understand there's no federal sales tax, but still, like you're constantly being taxed on the same dollar all the time. And so, like, any chance to get the federal government out of my fucking wallet, even if I'm not in the service industry, out of anybody's wallet, I'm all for it. And it's a brilliant move by Trump, because if I'm a service worker, if I'm a waiter at a restaurant, I mean, who knows if Trump's going to keep this promise, but just based on what he said, I'm probably going to cast my vote for
right. Because it's bullshit. Dan, I could give you a gift. I could come over to your house and you can make me some food, and I could give you a gift of money and it wouldn't be taxed. But if you were a server, then it's taxed. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just fucking stupid.
Or like if I came over and I say painted your bedroom, right? And you just paid me. You just paid me cash, said, "Hey, here's a couple $100 for painting my bedroom. Thanks, man. I appreciate your work." That's
Better
not tax.
fucking tell the IRS about it, Dan.
I know. I will.
Yeah, I can't Venmo you $600. That's for sure.
You ever see the meme where it's like, the IRS on their like tax forms, like if you made any money from even illicit activities, including drugs, blah blah blah, claim it here in this box. Like, eat my whole ass.
Careful, somebody might. I forgot about this because
It's an IRS agent. Get a spoon, bitch.
I think we neglected to even take notes on this because it was so virtue signally. But the whole part about like what either candidate is going to do for black people, as if it's not a class issue and it's a race issue, which is fucking unbelievably dumb. And Biden just goes, "I do stuff for black people," is basically all I heard in his entire stupid rant. I do stuff for black people, like sign the 1995 crime bill and throw a lot of them in jail for stupid drug crimes. Yeah, I'm sure you do stuff for black people, Joe. That's all I got. It was just a stupid race baity part of the whole fucking debate.
Yeah.
Kind of grossed me out.
Dude. Yeah. The part where, so I guess the only part of the whole thing that pissed me off was Biden basically sounding like Lindsey Graham, fear mongering. And then,
that's so good.
Dude, it made me so fucking angry. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then, Biden,
Lindsey Graham would bomb you if he thought you had a granule of fentanyl in your house.
Bro, if your hair was too shiny, he would invade the top of your head.
Right.
He absolutely would.
If I didn't wash my hair for 2 weeks and it was a little oily, he would be like, "We need to go there and start drilling and kill anyone that's gonna stop me."
There's weapons of mass destruction there.
For any listeners that don't know, Lindsey Graham is the biggest piece of shit in Congress maybe ever. And if you're from South Carolina, you probably know that's true. Stop voting for this dickhead.
Dude, the only thing that Biden really got Trump on was when he asked him why won't his vice president support him or anyone from his cabinet support his current election.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I almost forgot about that. That was the best political moment I think Biden had throughout this entire debate. Because
I don't know, saying that he had the morals of an alley cat was pretty good.
I think we all chugged our drinks under a Bidenism when he said that. You got the morals of an alley cat. It's like, that doesn't sound so bad. To be honest, that really doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, when he said that,
see, morals of an alley cat. See, it sounds like a straight out like 1926 gangster movie.
It's like a fucking Jimmy Cagney film. Yeah, but no, I will give Biden credit for that because like I didn't really care about it, but like politically, when you're trying to point to why you shouldn't vote for the guy across from you, that is a good political move. When you say,
a good one.
why does nobody that you brought into either your cabinet or obviously your vice president, why does nobody support you anymore? Now we know the answer to that question, and that is because, Donald Trump is anti-establishment and the entire establishment hates him. And like, okay, that doesn't mean that's a reason to like Donald Trump because he's anti-establishment, because it's, oh God, I'm going to sound like a CNN analyst here for a second. He's anti-establishment for the wrong reasons. I mean, that's reality because he's still awful. But anyway, I don't have anything else to add to that unless you do, Corey.
Arguing over who's the worst president.
Oh God, that was great. Neither of them were the worst president.
Biden can't hit a ball 50 yards.
You had the golf outing. We're gonna watch the match.
Me, I won.
And then
the club championship.
Not even the senior championship.
His points to his head and he goes, "Got me pretty smart."
I mean, Trump got his cognitive tests.
Make America
yeah.
great again.
And again.
And then I have again, you're such a whiner. And then moderators seem so goddamn disappointed.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they seem
oh,
so
man,
sad.
by the end, it looked like Dana Bash was never going to smile again. Now, some of that might have to do with the fact that she still has to work with her drunk husband on CNN all the time. For those who don't know, John King is her ex-husband, the guy who does the board for the elections. The best. He's the best. He's the best in the business. John King's the best in the business at doing the board. And it just like I picture those two together and I go, yeah, I can see why they probably hate working with each other.
And then
Go
I'm
ahead.
not sure who won the debate, but I know America lost.
Absolutely. 100%.
I agree.
Did Joe Biden, do you think he got better? Because I actually think Joe Biden, and this is with so many caveats, but I feel like Joe Biden got a little bit better throughout the debate.
Yeah.
Trump kind of worked on a bell curve where they were both really shitty at the beginning. Biden was shittier, but they were both really shitty at the beginning. And then Trump kind of had a peak in the middle and then fell back down by the end.
Yeah. He trailed off
And
in a minute. Or at the
And
end
it
there,
kind of seems like CNN won in that way.
Yeah, towards the end, I was full disclosure, I was starting to kind of losing interest. I started looking on Twitter to see people's responses and stuff like that because it was marinating at that point a little bit and stuff like that. And Biden has no friends on Twitter. And
That's why they got to get rid of Elon.
So I got a little pivot for you.
Sure.
What's your prediction for Trump's VP? Because I'm thinking Tim Scott at this point. You think it's gonna be Tim Scott or Marco Rubio?
Between the two, because they for some reason both parties need to keep playing this identity politics game. I think between those two, I'm gonna say he's gonna go with Tim Scott. I realize how this sounds, but because he's black, just to kind of give off that see, look how progressive we are vibe of the Republican Party.
Trying to shut down the whole racist narrative.
What about the North Dakota, or was it South Dakota, the governor?
You talking about Kristi Noem?
Yeah.
Oh, she fucking lost her chance.
Yeah,
she started
she
killing
killed
dogs.
Her dog. Yeah, once she started killing dogs, it was like kind of.
You haven't heard this story? For any of our listeners, if you don't know why Kristi Noem is a piece of shit, just fucking Google her real quick.
I did not. I did read about that.
She talked about it.
I forgot about that.
In a weird like what would be typically a toxic masculine trope. Talk about how just killing animals was just like, you gotta do it.
Like a 2-year-old dog or something. She just shot it.
Because it wasn't hunting and killing chickens.
Wasn't it was. Yeah, she's not exactly a good person.
And then I think she also talked about a goat. And then there was all this different stuff, like how there might have been a ghostwriter and she was bragging about her book and like that might have been in it and she didn't realize it. And then, threw her off.
She didn't even know what was in the book that she supposedly wrote.
Yeah, because she said she met North Korean leader. And she's like, I met a lot of leaders.
She said she met Kim Jong-un.
And they're like, but you did it
with Kristi Noem.
They're like, but you didn't. And she's like, I met a lot of world leaders.
Oh my God.
You wrote in your book specifically Kim Jong-un.
So Tim Scott, huh?
That's what
I would guess Tim Scott, because I think if he was going, and this is kind of where Nikki Haley fucked up, I think she could have had a chance because she's both a minority and also a woman, and so like I said, conservatives and even the MAGA crowd, they have to kind of show this sort of,
unless you're Ann Coulter.
Yeah.
What about who says she appreciates everything Vivek Ramaswamy says, but she wouldn't vote for him because he's brown.
Did she really say that?
Yeah, she said she wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian.
That sounds like something Ann Coulter would say.
Yeah, she's wild, dude.
I appreciate Ann Coulter in some ways, not because of the
Yeah.
racist shit that she says, but
you
more,
need someone to be actually racist to recalibrate your is this racist compass?
exactly. Like Ann Coulter is like your is this racist barometer. Listen to what she says.
Like, fuck, was that racist?
We're good.
Would Ann Coulter say this?
Is this racist? What would Ann Coulter do? Yeah. I would go with Tim Scott because I don't think there's a minority woman that would really fit the mold for a MAGA campaign. And he's going to go with a minority.
Tulsi's still too liberal for him, probably. Even though how hard she's trying to sound conservative.
Honestly, dude, if she took, I would lose every ounce of respect I have left for her. If she took,
she said it would be an honor.
Okay. Well, that's enough for me then. Goodbye.
On that note, the Absurdtive Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is absurdiveshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. And if you like
that includes. Oh, go ahead.
And if you liked what you heard today, I'm sure you have at least one friend that you bullshit about these exact things with in the same type of demeanor that we are. So go ahead and share the episode with him. Let him get a listen, and then you got something to talk about.
And all of our videos, if you miss us, can be found in podcast form at all of the places Corey just mentioned. For Bell the Bodysnatcher, he as always has been Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of here.